John Rawls, who was born in 1921 and died in 2002, is widely regarded as one of the most influential political philosophers of the 20th century. His magnum opus, A Theory of Justice, published in 1971, fundamentally redefined the concept of justice and continues to shape debates about justice, fairness, and equality in political philosophy. Rawls' theory, often described as a form of justice as fairness, proposes a framework for creating a just society in which basic principles of justice are chosen under conditions that are fair and impartial. His ideas challenge traditional utilitarianism and libertarianism, presenting an alternative vision that balances individual liberties with the pursuit of equality. At the heart of Rawls' theory is the original position, a hypothetical social contract through which rational individuals, unaware of their personal characteristics, would agree upon the principles that govern society. This is accompanied by the veil of ignorance, a thought experiment designed to eliminate biases that might arise from knowing one's social status, gender, race, or wealth. Through this lens, Rawls argues for two fundamental principles of justice: the equal liberty principle and the difference principle, which together form the foundation of a fair and just society. This episode, we will explore Rawls' idea of justice, focusing on the original position and veil of ignorance, the two principles of justice, and their implications for social and economic equality. We will also consider criticisms of Rawls' theory, especially in relation to its practical application and its contrast to other political philosophies, particularly utilitarianism and libertarianism. Rawls' theory of justice is grounded in the idea that justice must be both fair and impartial. In his work, Rawls presents a vision of justice that moves beyond traditional notions of utilitarianism, which seeks to maximize the collective happiness, or libertarianism, which prioritizes individual freedom above all. Instead, Rawls advocates for a social contract theory, which argues that the principles of justice should be those that individuals would agree upon if they were to choose them under fair and impartial conditions. Central to Rawls' theory is the concept of the original position, a hypothetical situation where individuals, free from bias or personal interest, come together to decide on the basic principles of justice that should govern society. The veil of ignorance is a key element of this thought experiment. It suggests that individuals in the original position are stripped of any knowledge about their own characteristics, such as their race, gender, wealth, intelligence, or social standing. This forces them to make decisions based on what would be just for all members of society, rather than on what would benefit themselves personally. From this impartial standpoint, Rawls argues, individuals would adopt two key principles of justice. The first principle guarantees that each person has an equal right to the most extensive system of basic liberties, which include freedom of speech, religion, and the right to vote. The second principle has two components: fair equality of opportunity, which ensures that people have equal chances to access social positions and resources, and the difference principle, which allows for inequalities in the distribution of wealth and power only if they benefit the least advantaged members of society. These principles reflect Rawls' belief that justice is fundamentally about fairness. For Rawls, society's institutions should be structured in a way that ensures basic liberties for all, while also working to correct social and economic inequalities, provided that such corrections benefit those who are worst off. Rawls' focus on justice as fairness is a direct critique of utilitarianism, which he believes can justify substantial inequalities if they result in the greatest happiness for the greatest number. At the core of Rawls' theory is the original position, a hypothetical scenario that allows individuals to select the principles of justice in an unbiased and rational way. This position is original because it is meant to represent the starting point from which a just society is constructed, and it is hypothetical because it is not a literal historical or social event. Instead, it is a thought experiment designed to ensure that the principles chosen for structuring society are fair to everyone, regardless of their social circumstances. In the original position, individuals are tasked with choosing the basic principles that will govern their society. However, this decision is made under the veil of ignorance, a device that ensures that the decision-making process is impartial. The veil of ignorance effectively removes any knowledge of individuals' personal characteristics or circumstances, including their gender, race, social status, intelligence, or wealth. The idea is that, without knowledge of these factors, individuals will not be able to create principles that disproportionately benefit any one group. Instead, they will choose principles that ensure fairness for everyone, as they could end up in any position within society. The veil of ignorance, therefore, focuses individuals to consider society's rules from a universal perspective. Because no one knows where they will end up in the social hierarchy, they will be motivated to design a system that guarantees basic rights and protects the least advantaged. This creates what Rawls calls a veil of impartiality that avoids the biases inherent in everyday life, where decisions are often influenced by personal experience, privilege, or social standing. The rationality of individuals in the original position is also important. Rawls assumes that individuals are rational and will choose principles that serve their self-interest. But, because they do not know their position in society, they will act in a way that protects them in the worst possible scenario. This is why Rawls believes that individuals in the original position would select principles that secure basic liberties and fair equality of opportunity, as well as a difference principle that ensures that any social or economic inequalities benefit the least advantaged. Despite its power as a thought experiment, the veil of ignorance has been the subject of some criticism. Critics argue that it is an overly idealized notion that cannot account for real-world inequalities and power dynamics. Others suggest that the veil of ignorance might lead to the prioritization of fairness at the expense of other important values, such as efficiency or economic freedom. However, Rawls defends the approach, maintaining that fairness is a foundational aspect of a just society, and that the veil of ignorance provides the most impartial framework for determining the principles of justice. Rawls' theory of justice is built upon two fundamental principles that he believes rational individuals would choose in the original position. These principles guide the structure of society, ensuring both basic freedoms and economic fairness. The first principle of justice guarantees that each person has the right to the most extensive system of basic liberties, as long as it is compatible with the liberties of others. These basic liberties include things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to vote, and the right to personal security. For Rawls, the protection of these liberties is non-negotiable. No society can be just unless all members have equal access to these fundamental rights. This principle reflects Rawls' belief that individual liberties must be prioritized. He famously argues that the basic liberties of individuals cannot be traded off for other social benefits, such as increased economic efficiency or overall happiness. This is in contrast to utilitarianism, which might justify limiting individual liberties if it leads to a greater overall benefit. For Rawls, any violation of basic liberties is unacceptable, even if it benefits the majority. The second principle is concerned with social and economic inequalities and consists of two parts. Fair equality of opportunity demands that social and economic inequalities be arranged so that they do not hinder individuals' ability to pursue their own goals. Specifically, it ensures that everyone has equal access to education, employment, and other resources that provide opportunities for advancement, regardless of their social background. It emphasizes that opportunity should not be limited by race, gender, wealth, or other arbitrary factors. The difference principle allows for inequalities in wealth, income, or power, but only if such inequalities benefit the least advantaged members of society. Rawls argues that inequalities are permissible if they improve the situation of those who are worst off. This is the hallmark of his theory of justice as fairness. Society should be structured in a way that guarantees the greatest benefit to those who are least advantaged, rather than focusing solely on maximizing overall wealth or happiness. The difference principle is what distinguishes Rawls' theory from traditional utilitarianism, which often justifies inequalities as long as they maximize overall happiness. Rawls challenges this utilitarian view by asserting that a just society must consider individual rights and the well-being of the least advantaged, not just the majority. Rawls' principles of justice have profound implications for how societies should be structured. His emphasis on equal basic liberties and the difference principle calls for a reimagining of social and economic arrangements, prioritizing the needs of the least advantaged while ensuring that everyone has an equal opportunity to succeed. Rawls' theory has been influential in shaping public policies on healthcare, education, and welfare. His difference principle supports policies that aim to reduce poverty and improve the quality of life for the worst off in society. For example, universal healthcare and progressive taxation are justified by Rawls's theory, as they can help benefit the least advantaged members of society, improving their quality of life and providing them with greater opportunities. Rawls' vision aligns closely with the principles underlying the modern welfare state. By advocating for policies that benefit the least advantaged, Rawls' theory supports programs like unemployment benefits, universal health care, and educational reforms aimed at providing equal opportunities for all. His approach to fairness does not only call for equality of outcomes, but emphasizes that opportunities should be distributed in a way that allows everyone, regardless of background, to pursue their personal goals. Despite its appeal, Rawls' theory faces practical challenges. Critics argue that the difference principle is difficult to apply in real-world situations, where determining the precise benefit to the least advantaged is complex. Moreover, the challenge of balancing fairness with economic efficiency and individual liberty remains a central point of contention in contemporary debates over social justice.